Hey everybody, I'm Scott Rippey. Welcome to the very first Rippeology video briefing. This should be fun. I thought it might be easier this way to show you some of the dynamics of the storm that's coming up this weekend that's going to impact southern Wisconsin. You might want to toggle to full screen on the video so that you can see some of these graphics a little bit more clearly. Before we do anything else, let me get this disclaimer out there. For those of you who are new to Rippeology, I am not a meteorologist. I just play one on the internet. I've been studying weather since I was a kid, and so this is fun stuff for me. But if you find Rippeology entertaining and useful, that's great, but you should still consult with the experts before you make important decisions about things like travel or how much brandy you should stock up on for this storm. So that being said, let's start by taking a look at some of the current watches that are in effect for our area. You'll see in the blue area here from Madison and points north to La Crosse, Rochester, St. Paul, and all the way back into South Dakota. This is a winter storm watch that has been issued for Friday afternoon through Saturday evening. You'll probably find it interesting for my friends in New Glarus, right about down here, who live where I live, that a winter storm watch has not been issued. I think the reason for that right now is that the Euro model, which generally does pretty well with winter storms, is predicting higher totals to the north and lesser totals to the south near the Illinois border, and I think that has something to do with the amount of warm air that the Euro is projecting into the storm near the Illinois border. So that, I think, is going to be rectified at some point tomorrow. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit. That winter storm watch that's in effect is for 7 to 10 inches of snow in the Madison area and points north, with heaviest snow falling late Friday afternoon and Friday night. I would say this is probably a 9 p.m. Friday to a 9 a.m. storm on Saturday, obviously with snow falling on both sides of that. So this storm is different. This is the surface map right now. You see, let's focus in on Northern California. It's different from the last storm because this storm is going to be able to tap moisture from two sources. Out here in Northern California, obviously tapping moisture from the Pacific, but as this low starts to track toward, let's just say, Oklahoma or the northern panhandle of Texas, it's also going to tap some moisture from the Gulf. I want to show you how that transpires a little bit on the projected surface map. Let me go back here to midnight on Thursday. For those of you who look at Rippeology a lot, you'll see on these maps up here at the top, you'll see it says 06Z Friday, December 16th. I want to just explain to you real quickly what that means. That is Zulu time, Greenwich Mean Time, Universal Time, in other words. And if you live in the Central Time Zone and we're in Standard Time like we are right now, we're not in Daylight time, subtract 6 hours from that to get the real time. So when you see 06Z, that means midnight Thursday is what we're looking at right here. So let's start by taking a look at how this storm transpires a little bit. You'll see first this little flare out of some light snow. That's going to be late Thursday night, early Friday morning. This is not going to amount to much. It's not going to cause much in the way of travel problems. But then there's going to be a little bit of lull during most of the day on Friday until late Friday afternoon and evening, when the main low pressure system starts to create the precipitation in our area. So what you're looking at right now is 6 o'clock on Friday evening when you're out for a fish fry. And you'll be looking outside going, I should probably think about getting home pretty soon. This low you'll see down here in southern Kansas, 992 millibars. That's a relatively strong low. That is for Americans who are not used to millibars, that translates to somewhere around 29.35 inches of barometric pressure. So watch how this low then starts to pull out first into Missouri, and this is midnight on Friday night, and then Saturday morning into Illinois, and then this will eventually go into Indiana and then southern Canada. This area of pink that you see here, I want to point out, is the potential for some frozen precipitation, as that's sort of, you see the blue lines up here, the red lines here, that's sort of your dividing line between freezing and non-freezing. So temperature is right about 32 degrees in northern Illinois there. You could very possibly down in Illinois see some sleet, some freezing rain. That will obviously compound travel problems there. And then let's pull this out to noon Saturday. We are now on the backside of this low pressure system, and 6 p.m. Saturday, and that's about when the storm pretty much fizzles in our area, as you see that low then go off north of New York into southern Canada. So let's do this one more time. Let's back up, watch this thing develop. You always hear in winter storms how the actual track of the low is important. I want to show you how two different models are seeing this. So I just showed you here for 6 a.m. Saturday morning, the low pressure system at 998 millibars, pretty much just east of St. Louis down here. This is the way the Euro model shows that. Almost exactly the same location, almost exactly the same intensity at 996 millibars. Look at that again. Here, here. These are the two primary models that that we look at when we're trying to assess sort of the track of the snow. I want to switch over to something here. I want to look at. Let's see if I have wind barbs up here. Okay, so this is noon Saturday. Right here, if you can see my cursor, is the center of the low pressure. Off to the west, sort of straddling South Dakota and Nebraska, is the center of high pressure. High pressure winds go clockwise around high pressure. Low pressure winds go counterclockwise around low pressure. So that's what's bringing these north winds. These little tick marks here are called wind barbs. That's what's bringing us north winds here. That's also what here is very likely going to cause some lake enhancement to this snowstorm, meaning that up and down sort of the eastern coast of Wisconsin on Lake Michigan, that we could see some locally higher snow totals as a result of this warm air coming into the cold air, interacting with precipitation off the lake, and creating higher snow totals. Perhaps, let's just say, from Milwaukee to Manitowoc, maybe even as far north as Green Bay. So I know you're all wondering, how much snow are we going to get here in southern Wisconsin? The way that generally let's see if I can get to precipitable water. Am I up here? The way that we generally calculate snowfall is that we start with a liquid precipitation. So how much liquid, if you were to be able to squish snow down into water, is going to fall? What GFS is telling us right now, and we're looking at 6 a.m. Sunday when the storm is done, is saying 7/10 of an inch of liquid precipitation in the Madison area. Again, like we just talked about with that lake enhancement here along the eastern coast of Wisconsin, higher totals. So what does that mean as it relates to snow? There are a number of different conversion methods that you can use to get from liquid to snow. This is what's called the Kuchera method. Evan Kuchera from the Air Force, or Air Force method, we'll call it that. This method sort of takes into consideration water content, energy, lift on a storm-by-storm basis, rather than just applying sort of a standard across-the-board ratio. So what Kuchera is projecting right now, this is the latest run from about 2 hours ago. Kuchera is projecting 11.9 inches of snow in the Madison area. More, as we talked about with that lake enhancement along Lake Michigan. Another method that you can use is the 10-to-1 ratio. So remember, we had 7/10 of an inch of snow. You apply a 10-to-1 ratio. That's 7 inches of snow to 0.7 inches of liquid. I tend to favor Kuchera. In fact, let's take a look at. I want to show you something here that you might find interesting. These are the last 8 model runs of Kuchera. So this is going back now to, you'll see this was initialized at 6 o'clock Monday evening. So let me just show you how GFS has essentially corrected itself over a period of time as more data gets fed into the system. So 19.6 inches of snow down to 17.2, 15.4. You see how it's correcting over this period of time. Now, it did go up a little bit in this last run, but you can see how it's definitely favoring the Lake Michigan shoreline for the highest snowfalls. And as this low kicks out into northwestern Indiana, that makes a whole lot of sense to me. So I think that the heaviest snowfalls do happen along the lakeshore. So let's back out of that for a second. One of the things that, we're here, okay, now what do this is what I want to show you. So on the backside of the storm, we're going to see a big piece of cold come in, colder than it is right now Wednesday and Thursday this week. We've had this Arctic blast. This is temperature anomaly Celsius, so departure from normal, and you're seeing that range down here in the sort of 10 to 20 degrees Celsius below normal. Sunday is going to be very cold. Monday is going to be very cold. So be aware of that. It's going to be a little bit short-lived because I think we're going to have a little bit of a warm-up as we get a little bit closer to Christmas. Let's get back to snow totals. Here's what I'm projecting. I believe this. I believe this 7/10 of an inch of precipitable water. And if we pull that out to the 10-to-1 ratio, you got 7 inches. Pull it out to Kuchera ratio, you've got 11 inches. I think the truth is in the middle. So I think that if I was responsible for issuing an official forecast for Madison right now, I would be saying 7 to 11. That just seems to make an enormous amount of sense to me. So again, 7 to 11 inches of snow, higher totals along the Lake Michigan shoreline, very cold after that storm. What you're looking at here right now is 6 p.m. Sunday. That's a very deep temperature anomaly. And then a warm-up as we get to the middle of next week. And then possibly some more precipitation right before Christmas, but we'll save that for a later update. So that's what we're seeing right now. Obviously, I will keep you posted on Rippeology. I will do that on Facebook as well. If you have any questions, you can find me here on Rippeology or on Facebook, and I'd be happy to answer those for you. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it.